what's going on, everybody? It's Rich Perez welcoming you back into another dose of your weekly rundown. After a little hiatus, of course, joined in as always by my brother from another, my co-host all the way from the U, Kayson Davis. How you doing, Kay?
Good. How are you? We did take a little hiatus. Had to take a trip real fast, but we back.
Yeah. Came back up north, man. I see you. Back over at the U right now, though. I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing pretty good. Can't complain.
Definitely. Well, we missed a lot, so it's definitely.
We got a lot to recap. Definitely got a lot to recap. It was championship weekend. NFC and AFC championships to determine who was going to get into the Super Bowl, and that led to a showdown between what most people would consider as the GOAT, Tom Brady, against what most people would consider as the most talented, or at least one of the most talented quarterbacks they've ever seen, in Aaron Rodgers. And that one ended with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning on a close one. And we got to talk about that one, man, because, it started off, kind of close. Then the Tampa just ran away with it after a while. They were up like 23 or 24-10 at one point, running it up. Rodgers and the Packers were able to come back on them, make it closer. And, second half comes around, Tom Brady throws 2 back-to-back interceptions, and the Packers just can't do anything with it at all. So Tampa's able to score another touchdown. The Packers, they come back and, get all the way back, field goal, make it close again, get the ball back again, and they get into the red zone. There's about a minute and a half left in the game. Now, my first questionable thing with it was when they're on third down, why isn't Aaron Rodgers just trying to run it in himself? That was the first one. And I'm just like, whoa. But now, again, you have the prohibitive favorite to win MVP this year in Aaron Rodgers. Sorry about that, guys. You have the prohibitive favorite to win it this year in Aaron Rodgers. And then you have the fact that there's only a minute and a half left in the game. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way I'm just taking the points there. Like, I'm going for it on fourth down. And the other reason to go for it on fourth down is because if you get the ball back, if you don't get if you don't score on fourth down, Tampa gets the ball back on the 8-yard line. So now just put it in your defense's hand.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I don't understand what he was kind of doing there. I think maybe because they didn't really go for an onside kick either. So I think a lot of people are kind of wondering what he did there. I don't know what kind of he said after the game, but anyone, even like you said with Aaron Rodgers there, anyone would kind of went for it. So with it being on fourth down, and I think maybe because he had 3 timeouts, and I think it was right before the 2-minute warning, maybe he thought if he go for it and then his defense can get a stop, he still had the 2-minute warning, which is technically like a timeout. And then he had 3 timeouts left, so maybe he thought they can get a stop, but I think anyone there kind of would just went for it. So I don't know what he was thinking there.
I mean, at the end of the day, though, you have the man. Like in basketball, there's the guy that you want the ball in his hands in crunch time, right? Aaron Rodgers is the guy who you want the ball in his hands in crunch time. That's literally his moment right there. And Matt LaFleur just stole it away. You know what I mean? He wasn't happy at all at the end of that game. With everything that was going on, he kind of took like some parting shots. He's like trying to dumb it down today because we got all this talk about is Green Bay going to move on from Aaron Rodgers now? We don't know, but I mean, yeah, like he is 1-4 in NFC Championship games now, and this is a dude that we talk about it all the talent in the world, possibly the most talented quarterback we've all ever seen in our lives, but It's like what people say about LeBron in the NBA Finals. You're 3 or now 4. You're 4-6 in the NBA Finals. Like, he is 1-4 in championship games, and it brings that narrative of you just can't get it done in the big game, right? So I mean, he's got a lot to think about. They've got a lot to think about. They just drafted a quarterback in the first round this past season, or this past NFL draft. And this is back-to-back NFC championship games that they've lost.
Yeah, definitely. I think the team. Well, we talked about it on here a lot. How they kind of maybe ain't surround him with the like they drafted another quarterback. They could have surrounded him with more pieces and things. And he kind of said it too. Like he didn't know what his future might be. So it's gonna be interesting to see where they go from here. It might be one of those things where it's kind of just time to move on. Like you said, they back-to-back championship losses in the conference game, and then they're like what you say 1-4, and this is their first time having a home game. So I think maybe the right might just be on the wall for them. Maybe the split.
It could be. I don't. If you're Green Bay, I don't think you're just gonna let go of Aaron Rodgers like that. Like I said, the man's more than likely gonna win MVP this season. I think for them, they would like to run it back. It's not like they're devoid of talent either. Devontae Adams is arguably the best wide receiver in the game right now. You got a very capable running back in Aaron Jones. You know, they had some other guys like Lazard there with the wide receivers. He definitely needs more help on the wide receiver group. The offensive line's not too bad. They need to work on, their defensive front as far as stopping the run better, which has been a problem for them the last couple of years. It's definitely the big reason why they lost to the San Francisco 49ers a year ago. But I mean, that talk will be coming soon. I don't know if it's going to be coming this season soon, even though a lot of people are starting it already. I don't know how realistic it is this season, but it's getting there.
Yeah, definitely. I think he even kind of after the game, or I think a little before the game too, he kind of even talked about how he didn't know what his future might be here. So I got like, the media is definitely going to talk about it, but even him saying that he doesn't know what his future might be, and then these last couple losses and them not being able to get to the Super Bowl recently, I think he might just maybe want to move on. He doesn't seem like, and then we talked about how he drafted another quarterback. So we talked about after the draft how the right may be starting to be on the roll anyway. So he might want to maybe get out of there before they kind of maybe get rid of him.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was talking about too. Those like his parting shots a little bit, and he's like, there's a lot of guys' futures here who are uncertain. My future's uncertain. Like that's what everybody's like, whoa, what's he talking about? And it's like damage control coming today, from him. But the writing's kind of getting on the wall a little bit. And I mean, for him, like we talked about this a year ago, right? When they lost to the Niners, not even when they lost to the Niners, I think it was going into the game. We talked about how the great quarterbacks have 2 championships on their resume. Aaron Rodgers is a guy that we universally believe is, at one point we were all saying he was the most talented quarterback we've ever seen. Mahomes has kind of come in and challenged that a little bit. But I mean, for all that talk and praise we give him, he still only has 1 ring to his name. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So that might be another reason why, because you know what they say, usually great quarterbacks have 2 or more. So that might be another reason why he might be motivated to just get out of there. And also, like you said, they've maybe wasted his time a little bit, not surrounding him with maybe as great as pieces as they could have. So maybe seeing that, and then maybe seeing Tom Brady go to a different team and make it to the Super Bowl, he might just think like maybe it's time to get out of there. But he might love Green Bay to kind of stay. So it'd be interesting to see where they go from here.
Yeah, for sure, man. On the other side of it, we had the AFC Championship between the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs, reigning Super Bowl champ Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City went in there and they steamrolled the Buffalo Bills, man. I don't know why anybody was picking the Buffalo Bills to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I know Josh Allen has had an amazing year. He was in the MVP conversation. The Bills had an amazing year, finally dethroning the New England Patriots to win the AFC East. Their first, playoff run since 94, 95. So, yeah, they deserve a lot of praise for what they were able to do this season. But at the end of the day, and I think we kind of seen it a little bit in this postseason. Like they were able to run it up a little bit on Lamar and the Ravens, but they ran it up in the second half against them and a little later on in the second half. And that was for a reason. Like Kansas City are the defending Super Bowl champs for a reason. And, their defense for, a lot of the flack that they kind of get a little bit is not as bad as people want to make it seem. So you combine that with, Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelsey and those other weapons they got over there, and that's why they went out there and they did what they do.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said before, I think they throughout the regular season, it's kind of just like they're coming off a Super Bowl high. They kind of just won a championship. I knew when playoff times came, they're kind of really gonna lock in and do what they do. Anything can happen in football though, when it be in like a 1-game elimination. But the Chiefs, like you said, they went out there and did what we know they could do, and they ended up back in the Super Bowl again. It'd be interesting to see if they can win it again though, because when's the last time a team won back-to-back Super Bowls? So I think that the pressure might be on the Chiefs, but with the talent they have over there, I think they can probably get it done.
Yeah, I want to say New England did that some years back, but I gotta do some fact checking. I'm actually gonna do that right now while we're talking. But yeah, I mean, speaking of it, like it's looking like a dynasty. It was looking like the making of a dynasty when they lost to New England in the AFC Championship a couple years ago.
Yeah, definitely. So now we get to see Tom Brady go up against Patrick Mahomes again. I think they might be Tom Brady was the last person to kind of beat them over there. So to see them kind of go up against each other again, it'd be interesting. And like you said, in the second half of that championship game, Tom Brady had threw like 3 picks. So I think he's gonna have to play better, especially down the stretch, if they're gonna even want to keep the game close. With Aaron Rodgers, they had opportunities and they kind of went 3 and out off of those turnovers. But I think if you give the Chiefs those opportunities, those turn into points. So they could be down 3 touchdowns that quick if Tom Brady plays like that.
Yeah, and I mean, from the Bills for the Bills in the AFC Championship game, excuse me, like they made the mistake that you just can't make against Kansas City, in taking the points. You're not going to beat the Chiefs just kicking field goals. Like you got to be daring, you got to be risky, you got to go for it when you're playing a team like that. So that's the other thing I think that the Buccaneers are going to be wary of playing the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, they got an experienced guy in Tom Brady who's won 6 Super Bowls, and they got a ton of weapons over there on the offensive side. Antonio Brown didn't even play in the NFC Championship game. He should be back for the Super Bowl. You got Godwin, you got Evans, you got Gronkowski. They got a really good running back room over there. And then Tampa's just a complete team. Like they're on the defensive side of the ball. They've got a great front. They've got they've got a pretty good secondary over there. I think it's going to be a good matchup, but I'm going to take Kansas City to go back to back here. One, because, it's hard to pick against the defending champs. 2, I think there's a little motivation there from when they lost to New England in the AFC Championship a few years before that, because Tom Brady was on that team, and now they're facing him again, and I just think I think they're going to be more ready for it. I think it's going to be fun to see Bruce Arians and Big Red go against each other in the coaching ranks and everything, but. I don't know. I like Kansas City in this one for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, I think Kansas City's probably the kind of overwhelming favorite, but I'm gonna go with the Bucks, and I'm gonna go with the Bucks to kind of get the upset. And I kind of I kind of just brought it up. When's the last time a team won back-to-back Super Bowls? I think it's kind of
the Patriots were the last team to do it. There's been 17. I looked it up. There's been 7 teams total to win back-to-back championships. The Patriots won back-to-back in 2003 and 2004. No one's done it since.
It's pretty hard to do, and I feel like Kansas City definitely has the team to get it done. But I'm just gonna. It's like one of those things where like maybe it's like too good to be true, and something kind of just gets in the way. So the Bucks, I guess some people thought that the Buccaneers can kind of get to the Super Bowl, but a lot of people didn't really believe that they can get there. So I think they kind of been on, not like a magical run, but I think they maybe play better than a lot of people expected, especially after the kind of the regular season they had. I think they're going to figure out another way to pull something out the hat. Tom Brady's going to be the GOAT that he is. He's still trying to prove something because a lot of people say he couldn't do it without the Patriots, without Bill Belichick. So I think he is going to surprise us again, and the Bucs are going to keep this run going, and they're going to come out and stop history. I just think something might go bad for the Chiefs trying to get back-to-back Super Bowls.
Look, man, I've fought this for a long time as far as Tom Brady being the GOAT, right? I still, to this day, believe that, he's, as far as talent goes, he has never been one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league. He's definitely up there as, the top echelon of quarterbacks for just the way how he performs under crunch time and things like that, commands his offense. And then, of course, you add on the championships, So I have fought it for a long time. If Tom Brady wins a 7th Super Bowl, he's undisputed GOAT for me, which is not easy for me to say. He is undisputed GOAT for me. But with that being said, I just think Kansas City is different, man. From the last couple of, they're like the Warriors. High-powered offense, got a guy in Mahomes that's kind of changing the game. And, it was in the making. Like we've seen it. Even before Mahomes got there, they were tough. And he kind of elevated them when he finally got to start under center after they moved on from Alex Smith. But I just like everything that I see. I like everything that I see from Kansas City. I think they're gonna get it done. Not only that, but how do you stop Patrick Mahomes? It's like this kid has an answer for everything that you throw at him. You want to blitz him? You can't blitz him. He knows how to get past the blitz. He throws bombs when you try to blitz him. Like anything that you want to do to stop Patrick Mahomes, he's got an answer for. He's got an answer for every test that you throw at him. So I like Kansas City here.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that but if you think about the Bucs just had to go against they went against the Saints and they had to go against Drew Brees and they went against Aaron Rodgers. Now obviously Patrick Mahomes is probably a better quarterback than those guys at this time, but it's arguable. So I think that the Bucs have figured out a way to maybe slow him down just a little bit. Whether it's him, whether it's Tyreek Hill, they'll figure out a way to kind of slow down that offense after taking things that they did against those other two great quarterbacks to kind of get here. So I think with that they'll figure out a way to slow him down just a little bit. And Tom Brady has to play up to the caliber that we know Tom Brady can play. Like I said, he can't come out there and kind of play bad like he did in the second half against the Packers, because that's definitely going to turn into a loss. So I think just with the way the Bucs have been doing it this year, I think, or especially this playoff run, I think they'll figure out a way to get it done. And I just think history is going to be against the Chiefs in this one, and they're not going to be able to get 2 in a row because it's just difficult to do.
Hey, look, there's no wrong answer here. You know what I mean? We're gonna do a poll once the Super Bowl comes next week. We will do a poll with this video on it, and you guys can vote. And then somebody's gonna have bragging rights after the Super Bowl's over. But I mean, it's gonna be tough, man. And I can't wait for the game to go. I don't have Super Bowl plans this year. Last year I rented out a spot and did something over there, but COVID going on, it's a little tough. So hopefully I can have a little fun while watching the game. But we'll see. But I'm going with Kansas City. He's going with Tampa Tom. Yeah. And
do you owe Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay an apology?
I do. I do owe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom an apology. I just want to say first, because I know you did this last time. I never said the Patriots were going to be better than Tampa. I said the Patriots would be better with Cam than they were with Tom a year ago. And that's not me saying that Cam is a better quarterback than Tom ever was. That's not true. But, in my defense, Cam caught COVID and things kind of, hurt a little bit for them. But, yeah, I did not think I picked against Tampa a lot. I did not think they would go on a run in the playoffs. I was right that they weren't going to win the NFC South, but, whatever. But, yeah, I apologize for picking against y'all a lot, not thinking y'all were going to go on a run and everything. You proved me wrong. I can admit when I was wrong. So, shout out to Tampa.
Yeah, definitely. I think it kind of surprised people a little bit. I think that I kind of picked them to get past the Saints. Like I said, it's hard to kind of beat a team 3 times in 1 year. So I thought they'll figure something out with the Saints. I think that win against the Packers is a little more surprising, especially with the Packers being home. But Tampa Tom and the Buccaneers getting it done. So way to prove you wrong, I guess.
Yeah, man. So some other stuff happened while we were gone. James Harden finally got the trade he so wanted very much, and he got to go exactly where he wanted to go, Brooklyn. And now we have, after it's been 2 years, now we have a big 3 in the NBA again between Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving. They had now the deal was crazy. They moved on from Karis LeVert and Jared Allen. Sent them over to Houston. Houston then flips it, they made it into a 3-team deal with Cleveland, and they send Jared Allen over to Cleveland, then throw Indiana in the mix. Indiana sends Victor Oladipo to Houston, and Karis LeVert goes to Indiana. So this is just crazy. I think from Brooklyn's standpoint, they really don't have a ton of future here because they gave up essentially 8 future first-round picks. You got 4 future first-round picks plus 4 pick swaps. So 8 future first-round picks. And then the 2 guys that were the young cornerstones for you in Karis LeVert and Jared Allen are now both gone in Cleveland and Indiana. I want to say shout out to Karis LeVert too, because this trade literally saved his life. He had to go through the physical, and they found a mass in his knee, or something like that. His kidney. Yeah. And it turned out to be cancerous. They actually caught it in such great time that they removed it, and he's good. Like, he doesn't have to worry, but no therapy, nothing. He's good. He's just going to be out for the year now. But that's great. Sometimes things really are blessed, and so good for him and everything. And I actually think when he comes back, the Indiana team they were already a team to watch out for in the East. Not that they were going to make a run or anything like that, but they were going to be a tough team. And now you add him to the mix to go along with Malcolm Brogdon as definitely a team that people should look out for moving forward, especially in the future with how young those guys are. Aside from that, Brooklyn, we kind of seen it a little bit, like when Harden finally got there and he's playing with KD, they look great. Then Kyrie comes back into the mix, and the worst offensive team in the league, beats them twice and puts up 120 points. Colin Sexton went for like 42 one night. So I mean, I think Brooklyn, this big three in Brooklyn is going to be similar to the first year that the big threes put together in Miami. Got to kind of figure out who's going to take a step back and who's not, because it doesn't seem like anybody really is right now. Kyrie still looks like he's going out and getting his, and they're winning games, but they're also still losing games.
Yeah, definitely. I think the start off with the trade, it's kind of surprising to me that Houston didn't want Jared Allen or Karis LeVert. I know they flipped him for Oladipo, but Oladipo's on an expiring contract. And if you know what we kind of know about Timothy Fertitta, he's probably got that expiring contract to start shedding some salary. So that's interesting for them. And then I think Jared Allen's a solid big man. See what he's able to do against the Nets after the trade. So I'm surprised that Houston didn't want neither one of those guys. But like you said, it saved Karis LeVert. So definitely, that's a blessing in disguise. But as far as the Nets, I think they're gonna. I don't know if I talked about him before, but they have to figure out, to me, who's gonna play point guard, because obviously Kyrie's the point guard, but Harden might be the better passer, and Kyrie's more of a scoring guard. And if you look at earlier on in the season when I was talking about when Spencer Dinwiddie went down, they were using him as that combo guard to take the ball out of Kyrie's hand a lot. So from what we've seen so far, it looks like Harden's going to kind of be that playmaker with the ball in his hands, and it's going to be more kind of like what the Spencer Dinwiddie situation is. So it's just going to be interesting from here. I think from here, they're just going to need to find time to gel and get going. I think they kind of looked better for a minute without Kyrie, because those 2 games or 3 games they played without Kyrie and came back, they looked pretty good. But I think now it's going to be like an adjustment period, like you said. It's going to be like that first year with the Heat. But it looks like Harden's taking a step back. If you look, he hasn't been scoring. He went off in the fourth quarter last night, but besides that, he hasn't been scoring as much. He's kind of been looking to pass a little more. So if he's going to play like that, it could be a good bad thing, because you still want Harden to be aggressive. But if he can play like he did last night against I forgot what he played, but if the Heat, there you go, if he can play like he played last night against the Heat, where he kind of lets the game kind of come to him, kind of run the offense and things like that, and kind of get it going late, then that might be good for him.
Yeah, for sure. But you know what though, like even if Harden is the guy taking the step back, should he be the guy taking the step back? You know what I mean? Like, again, kind of comparing it to the whole Heat thing. Like, it felt like LeBron was the one taking the step back that first year. And then after they lost, Dwayne Wade came to him and said, you got to be the one to take us there. Like, I'll take the step back. And it worked out in the long run. Like, that might be what has to be the case in Brooklyn, and it's a lot easier said than done with, you know, the personality that Kyrie is. I mean, the whole reason he wanted out of Cleveland because he wanted to be the face of a team, right? And that didn't work out in Boston, so he goes from wanting to be Batman to being Robin, kind of like comically, like Shannon Sharp said. Now he's Alfred. But I don't know. There's definitely got to be something to kind of wait and see what happens. But they got a lot of figuring out to do in a season that's, the things are moving quickly here.
Yeah, definitely.
And like no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, but the good thing about it, in a sense, they're able to get the trade kind of earlier in the year, so they have a lot of time and a lot of games left to maybe figure out before the playoff hits. So like things are moving fast, and teams are kind of starting to get together, especially the Lakers now because they're like 14-4 and they're kind of on a streak. But I think it's hard to say, but I think KD, not that he has to take a step back, but he has to he's like, to me, the one who can take that kind of step back. We know how efficient he is, and playing with the Warriors over there, he knows how to get maybe 30 points on like 15 shots or something like that. I think it'd be kind of hard to ask Kyrie or maybe Harden to do the same thing. Harden's been able to, I guess, find other ways to stay involved, like I said, with passing and things like that. But in a sense, it's like you just said, how long is he going to be able to maybe do that or want to do that in a sense? So I think Kyrie is going to be the hardest one to kind of adjust, because I guess maybe you can try to turn him into that true point guard. But I don't know if it's just there. So I think KD, at the end of the day, the Nets did all this for KD. They got Kyrie for KD. They got Nash for KD. They got James Harden for KD. So at the end of the day, I think the Nets are kind of looking at KD to kind of look at him like, you kind of got it. Not that he has to figure it out, but he has to figure it out. So I think even besides the Nets, like the media and things like that, or everyone, like we're looking at KD. KD has to figure it out. They gave him everything he wants. He can't ask for more. It's time for him to kind of figure it out. He's the bridge between Kyrie and James Harden, because he's real good friends with James Harden. He played with him before. He's real good friends with Kyrie. I don't know how good Kyrie and James Harden's friendship is, but I don't think they're as close as KD and them. So he's the bridge between those two if they're not getting along. He's the bridge between the coach and everyone else, because he's best friends with Steve Nash. So he has gotten everything he wants. So he has to be kind of the one to figure out how to blend all these different things together and maybe figure it out.
Yeah, and I actually agree with what you're saying. Now, I don't think he's going to take a step back, as he should not. He's the best player on the team. Your best player should not take a step back. But I agree with pretty much everything that you just said right now. Because I don't think you're wrong. But I mean, I don't know. I think they will figure it out. There's too much star power on that team for them to not make a run. They're going to make a run. Like, at the very least, this team is going to a conference final. I can't see anybody standing in their way on that side. Like, maybe if it's Milwaukee, but they'll beat Milwaukee. You know what I mean? Like, we're having conversations right now about Giannis and where he stands in the pecking order, because for some reason he just can't be that closer for them, which is weird. He's a back-to-back MVP. But one of those two guys has to take a step back. Maybe it's not going to be this year that they figure it out, but something is going to happen, and I believe will happen, as far as a setback for them goes, that they're going to have to sit down with each other and reassess like how they're going to go about this thing. I mean, I've been saying it, man. People need to watch out for Philadelphia. Joel Embiid is playing at an MVP level right now. He's the favorite to win MVP by a lot of people. Daryl Morey fixed a lot of their problems, adding in a lot of their shooting. Seth Curry has been remarkable. Obviously he caught COVID and had to sit down, but he's been remarkable. Danny Green, a lot of you people are killing Danny Green in the NBA Finals. Danny Green was dealing with a hip injury, which definitely limited his play. He's back from that hip injury now, and he's back to the Danny Green we know him to be. So, which is not this great, amazing player, but very streaky and can be very reliable. And that's what he's been in Philadelphia. Ben Simmons is playing his role. The other night, I forgot who they played, but he actually put up 15 in one quarter to put them ahead. He's actually taking shots now, by the way. And I don't care as long as you're making the attempt, that's fine. And then this kid, Tyrese Maxey is going to he's not going to win Rookie of the Year. We both agree who's going to win Rookie of the Year, but he's going to be in that Rookie of the Year voting conversation. This kid is great. Nice piece of them coming off the bench, running that bench unit. Philly, I think it's going to come down to Brooklyn and Philly in the conference finals. And Philly's going to have something to say about that. Like Brooklyn should not be a prohibitive favorite over Philadelphia.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. I think Brooklyn, from what we've seen, Brooklyn's problems right now are rebounding and defense for the most part. And with the shooters that Philly has over there and then Joel Embiid in the paint, I think they kind of caused some problems for them that they might not be able to figure out. Because after you get past kind of DeAndre Jordan, if he gets into foul trouble trying to guard Joel Embiid, they're going to have to kind of figure out where they go from there. So if Joel Embiid gets him 2 fouls earlier on in the game, they kind of have no big men after that. So not unless you're going to put KD on them, but then they're going to have to figure a lot of things out. So I think the Sixers, I can see what you're saying. The Sixers caused a lot of problems for the Nets that they already had problems with. So it'll be interesting because one of them have to play the Bucks in the second round. So like you said, we're trying to figure out where Giannis is and things like that. But I guess for a guy who's watched Westbrook play for a while now, it's kind of hard in the playoffs when they start to kind of lock down on certain things for like players who can't shoot to kind of play as well. So I think that's kind of Giannis' problem right now. But you figure with Chris Middleton maybe taking a bigger step and Drew Holiday over there, that those guys can kind of maybe bring it home for them. So it'd be interesting to see who ends up kind of in the conference finals. But I think right now, if the Nets do kind of run to the Sixers, I don't know who kind of will win that series, especially with the Nets still having a lot to figure out.
Yeah, like I said, I think in the long run, the Nets will be all right to get to a conference final. Like I'm getting more and more confident that it's going to be between Philly and Brooklyn, moving forward here. But, I think that's going to be a showdown. And, if one of these guys can figure out which one of the two is going to take a step back, then you got a different conversation about Brooklyn coming out the East.
Yeah, I think, like I said, it's not that KD has to take a step back, but I feel like KD has to be the one to kind of figure it out. But at the moment, I think Harden might be the one because, like I said, he can pass. So if he's not scoring as much, if he's willing to be that passer like he's been these last couple of games, then that can maybe be a way where he can adjust his game a little bit and still have a big impact on the game. The problem with that is you don't want to take away from his offense too much and the things that he likes to do. So you don't want him to get too caught up in passing where he kind of forgets about his scoring because they still need that. So if Harden can find a balance, I guess right now if I had to pick, Harden would kind of be the one who would have to adjust his game. And if I was the Nets, I would play, because early on Nash was playing KD and Kyrie a lot together. I would keep that going and let James Harden play a lot with kind of the bench players and things like that. We've seen James Harden be able to carry a team by himself. So leaving him out there with kind of the bench players and things like that will help him kind of still be aggressive. And then when KD and him comes in, he can kind of switch to maybe being a passer.
Yeah, we'll wait to see more as it develops. The way what you're talking about right now is definitely pretty on brand with what they've been doing. Though I noticed that we're doing Clippers color. We're doing Clippers colors on this episode today with the red, blue, and white and black going on, man. So with that being said, the Clippers, who are not having a bad season at all right now, maybe not as good as they'd like, but nonetheless not having a bad season at all, dealing with some things. Their two best players, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, have come in contact. Fell into the contact tracing protocol of the NBA. So they're looking to be out for a little bit now, as well as Patrick Beverley, which is out as well with some knee soreness. But I mean that brings up the topic of discussion that the NBA's been dealing with for like the last month now. They've been having some COVID issues, and they're trying to crack down as much as possible. I don't know if you saw the first Miami-Brooklyn game, Bam Adebayo and Kyrie tried to exchange jerseys. They were not having that. Second game, they kind of had to sneak them. But the NBA is trying to do a lot to stop this, and it's not been easy. It's definitely a lot different from their bubble situation too. The bubble situation, they had guys test positive, and then after about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, there were no positive tests the rest of the postseason moving forward. This is going to be hard to stop. There's no bubble. And, it just seems like anything that the NBA does, and the NBA has been, universally recognized as ahead of the game when it comes to pro sports, but anything that they try to do just isn't working. A lot of games have been getting postponed. You know, things are looking tough. I mean, from one perspective, because some people are talking about trying to bring back a bubble. It's a lot harder to do a bubble right now than it was when they did it the first time. The season was pretty much over when they did the bubble. They just had a couple games to get through and then get right into the playoffs. So they invited 3-4 teams on top of the playoff teams that were in there. Right now you got everybody. That's a lot of people to account for. I just think it's with the money that needs to get put in and things like that, I think it's a little too hard to make it work.
Yeah, definitely. And then I kind of brought up to you off camera things. People like George Hill kind of saying that he's a grown man. He can kind of go see who he wants and things like that. I think just situations like that, the kind of situation that we're in, people still want to go see their family. People still have family to take care of. People have, I guess, people that they have to kind of go see and things like that. So it's kind of hard for the NBA to do anything like that. Like you said, in that bubble situation, you kind of lock everybody in, but there's too many games left. If you try to do a bubble right now, you're going to be thinking they're going to be in there for like the next 6 months or something like that, which is kind of really hard for them to ask. So they're kind of trying to move forward with what they got going on. They know that there's going to be COVID cases, but just with people having to still live their life and be around other people, and not that people around them are being unsafe, but you never know who they might be around, who they thought was being safe and things like that. It's just too many unknown variables out in the world. That's not a bubble situation where people can kind of catch COVID even when they think they're being safe. So the NBA kind of just has to deal with it. I think maybe if they get closer to a playoff, like to the playoffs, they might try to maybe throw a bubble situation in there so they're only in there for a couple weeks. Like say the playoffs about to start, you take all the teams that make the playoffs and throw them in a bubble situation. I think they may try that, but I think right now it's just too many games. You're going to try to have them in there for too long. So I think right now I just think, like, obviously we can't tell players not to. They put all these protocols out there to try to stop it as much as they can. But I think they know we're going to have cases, and they're just going to have to kind of deal with it. But I think right now during regular season, they figure we can lose a superstar for a game or two, or we can lose a couple of players for a game or two. But around playoff time, they might try to lock in on that because you're going to maybe lose ratings or something if LeBron's not playing in the series.
I think they need to kind of look at, I've never said this before, but it's got to be said. Like, they need to kind of look at what the NFL did. Like the NFL has a bigger group of people to have to deal with. And, the NFL, their season kind of went like how the NBA's bubble went. They had positive cases, but as things got further or deeper into the season, there were less and less positive cases. They had their protocols in place. Guys followed it. And, like, they were good. Like, towards the end of the season, we didn't really hear about positive tests in the NFL. And there was no bubble. They had their like I said, they had their protocols in place. Some places were allowed to have fans, some places weren't. And, they were pretty good. So I think they kind of got to take a page out of the NFL's book, as weird as that sounds.
Yeah, definitely. I think maybe it's just because I think when playoff time comes around, I think players are going to know that missing a game is way more important maybe than missing the game now. So, like, the NBA is gonna have to put in protocols, like you said, maybe like how the NFL did. But I think players also maybe take more of a responsibility around that time to know, like, all right, maybe I can isolate myself away from people for just a couple weeks or whatever. So, because it's time to kind of maybe lock in, and they don't want to be the person to miss a game and end up costing their team a series or something. So I think a little bit of both. I think players might step up and kind of take it, but the NBA should also put in rules and, like you said, take a page out the NFL's book because you see it kind of work.
Yeah, we got a couple questions to get into here. Adia R says, do you think Harden's behavior before he got traded sets a bad example for other players wanting to force a trade? Kayson, you can take that one first, and then I guess I'll give my opinion afterwards.
It's I don't know, because when you look at it, he's a superstar, so you can't compare it to every other player. So, like, obviously, if it will set a bad example of a role player thinks he can do something like that, obviously, because then he's not a superstar. Teams aren't going to be willing to put up with it as much. So it sets a bad example there. maybe it sets a bad example for the superstar players, but at the end of the day, he got what he wanted. So like, AD was in the same situation, and AD kind of acted the same. Going out there playing 12 games, showing up with shirts saying it's over. They both got what they wanted, exactly what they wanted. So in a sense, it's like for certain players, it may set a bad example because you're not about to go out there and cause all that type of ruckus. They're gonna trade you anywhere. For example, we could take Russ. Houston didn't value Russ as much. They were willing to trade him anywhere, even though he didn't do what Harden did. But even if he did, they would have took the first trade for him, maybe waived them. So,
they wouldn't waive them. That's a lot. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. So in a sense, like yes, but in a sense, like some superstar players are looking like I throw a fit, I maybe get what I want. That's two examples of it. So yes and no in a sense.
This isn't new. Guys have been forcing trades for a few years now. What Harden did. I'm actually glad you brought that up because what Harden did was very similar to what AD did. He just went a little more public about it. With the last press conference before the trade finally got done, when he was just like, I tried, and there's nothing else that could be done here. So I mean, yeah, I get it is what it is. And I'm for the players. I've said this before. Nobody bats an eye when an organization, and this is kind of going to your point, which you were just talking about with Russ, where they didn't value him as much and willing to trade him wherever. Nobody bats an eye when these organizations trade a player, move on for a player for whatever reason. But when the player takes his destiny into his own hands and puts it out there that he wants to get out of there and be moved and everything, now it's a problem. I think it's a double standard. And people need to get over that, and look at it. Look at it from what I just said. If it's okay for an organization to do it, it should be okay for a player to do it as well. If it's okay for an organization to put together a big three, it should be okay for players to get together and say we want to put a team to play together. You know what I mean? So. Not that I completely agree with Harden, to get back to the question, not that I completely agree with how Harden went about it, but I don't know if it set too much of a bad example because of what I just said. And also, this isn't exactly new.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, it's not new. I think if we go back and look at it, we maybe find other situations like that. If you're going to go back, maybe Melo, even though Melo wasn't kind of public and it wasn't that, but when he was leaving the Nuggets, that was a big thing at the time. Like, it was a lot of drama behind that. I think they were calling it the melodrama. So there's usually a lot of drama when star players kind of force their hand to kind of go out. So it's nothing new. But I think the more back to the question, lower players, sure. But the superstars, I think it's kind of, they know what they're doing.
Yeah. We got another question here from Shator Davis. Who do you think won the Harden trade? I think it's a little too early to tell right now. Brooklyn's not exactly playing at, their maximum potential. Houston, that trade didn't set them up for the immediate. It set them more up for the future. So we got to see what they do with those picks. If Brooklyn wins a title, then I don't think it even matters what Houston does with those picks. Houston got what they wanted Brooklyn got what they wanted out of the trade if they won a championship. But, I think right now it's a little too early to say who won.
Obviously the winner right now is the Nets. They got the best player out the trade. They got a superstar player. But we're going to, like he said, we're going to have to wait to see who's the winner long term. But like right now, obviously the Nets are the winner, especially if they end up winning the championship, maybe one or two. They'll be the winners for now and maybe the foreseeable future. But who knows what those picks can turn out to be. I think the Nets are kind of looking at it like a KG, Paul Pierce situation where like they got rid of all those picks. People thought they'd be bad. They were able to still build a team without any of those picks, so they probably feel like they can do it again if this kind of doesn't turn out. But they're also looking at it, if we win a championship or two, they'll win. With the picks, it's hard to tell when you trade picks because you don't know what they turn out. It could turn out to the next LeBron, and they end up winning. The Rockets end up winning 6 championships or whatever. So for the future that we can't see right now, who knows who the winner is? But right now, I'll say the Nets.
Yeah, I mean the other thing too, like some people were kind of like when they made the trade, kind of looking at it a lot similar to when Brooklyn made the trade with Boston to bring in KG and Paul Pierce, and it's not the same at all. KG and Paul Pierce were well past their prime when they made that. They were still good enough to take them to the playoffs, but they weren't those same players. You know what I mean? With this, all three of these guys are in their primes. Yes, KD is coming off of an Achilles injury, but KD is playing like he didn't even have an Achilles injury. This guy's averaging 30 points a game right now. He's amazing. He should be in the MVP conversation, and he might win the MVP because of it. James Harden, is still playing at a high level, even with him coming out of shape and everything like that. I don't know if you saw the meme too. They said James Harden finessed the Saul because he was looking real pudgy in the Rockets uniform and looked back to normal as soon as he got to Brooklyn. I don't know what he did, but I need his secret. And then Kyrie, yes, we understand Kyrie deals with his injuries, but Kyrie hasn't been injured much. He was out, but that was on some personal choices that he wanted to make. And when he's back on the court, he looks like Kyrie Irving. So these guys are still in their prime. It's not like the deal of a decade ago that they made, even though they gave up a lot of picks to do this. Like, they are capable of winning a championship. I wasn't saying that when they made that deal to get Paul Pierce and KG before.
Yeah, definitely. And I did see that. I seen someone say he like took off his fat suit or something, which was funny. But I think the Pacers are low key a 1 or 2 in here. Like you said, they get Karis
LeVert.
Yeah, they get Karis LeVert, who's a very good player. I'm like I said, I'm surprised that the Houston didn't want him. And they get rid of Oladipo, who said he wasn't unhappy, but there's been a lot of rumors about him being unhappy in Indiana, especially after he came off that injury. And then he's on an expiring contract, so if he is really unhappy, he ends up maybe leaving. So you get Karis LeVert, who will be happy to be over there, and you mix him with Sabonis and a couple of the young players. Indiana, a team that's not going to get any superstars to sign over there, so this is kind of like a trade that they kind of need to make and kind of how they build their teams and things like that. So I think they'll get Karis LeVert, especially with the physical thing happening and them be able to catch and he's going to be able to play and be fine. I think them getting Karis LeVert is a great pickup for them.
Yeah, for sure, man. We got another question here from Adia. If Tom Brady brings home this Super Bowl, is he the greatest athlete ever or no? The greatest athlete ever is Serena Williams. I'm very confident in saying that. I hear this a lot. I actually saw somebody, I wanted to debate, but I didn't have the energy to do it yesterday. Somebody brought it up about him being the greatest athlete ever. Just take the term into it. Athlete. When you look at Tom Brady, yes, he is an athlete. He plays a sport. But can you say he's the greatest athlete? I see people with a lot more athletic skills than Tom Brady. Tom Brady also plays a team game. So I look at that when you talk about greatest athletes, it's all from an individual standpoint. And he doesn't do things better than a lot of other pro athletes do. So, no, if he wins another Super Bowl, I still do not think he'll be the greatest athlete ever.
Those were some very good points that you made. Was not thinking about Serena Williams or anybody like that. I think he's gonna be in the conversation definitely if he wins it. I think like you said, some people kind of knock him for not being athletic, but like you said, he is technically an athlete. He has been to 10 Super Bowls now. But LeBron's been to 10 too. So I think he's gonna be in the conversation. I think at the end of the day, that's all that kind of matters. Is he? Yes or no? That's kind of depends on who's having the conversation and who wants to make certain points. I think he's it's like the GOAT conversation. You're gonna have a couple people who are in the argument, and it's just about how you feel about certain sides. I still think some people are gonna say Jordan. You throw Serena Williams in there. I'm pretty sure there's a whole bunch of other athletes we can name, but he's in the conversation. I think at the end of the day, that's all that kind of matters.
Yeah, look, we just had a conversation right now, so it's gonna be there, But when we both stand on it now, I mean, people, y'all can stand on it how y'all want to stand on it. Before we get out of here, the college seasons are in full effect now between wrestling, basketball, and everything. Wrestling season has kicked off. The Penn State Nittany Lions, who have won numerous NCAA titles, they're technically the defending national champ right now since the NCAA wrestling tournament got canceled last year. They haven't even opened up a competition yet because of some COVID issues. But, as soon as they come out, they got a young young lineup that's getting ready to kick things off. The Iowa Hawkeyes, who were the prohibitive favorites to win a national title last year, they started off right where they left off. They're putting up a lot of points on the boards. Got Jaden Ironman in there as a transfer, multiple-time All-American from Missouri. Max Muir in the 41-pounder moves up to 149 and looks great there. Spencer Lee, multiple-time national champion, back in the fold doing what he does. And I mean, definitely, we will have more content for you guys on that as well. Moving forward, okay, son, you've been watching some basketball things going on. Michigan, have you been watching Michigan at all this season? The Michigan Wolverines men's basketball team has looked like the best team out of the Big Ten right now. Juwan Howard's doing a great job over there. I know they almost had an upset the other day, but that's a team that's been wowing me a lot.
Yeah, definitely. I think when Juwan Howard kind of got that job, they were able to get a lot of top recruits. So I'm not too surprised. But, Michigan's always been a great team. You think about back when Karis LeVert and all of them was there, and they led them to that Final Four. So, yeah, I've been watching them, but they've been pretty good. Yesterday, West Virginia, number 10, Texas Tech went up against West Virginia. I don't know if you've seen that game. West Virginia was able to hit like a game winner. So Syracuse lost to Virginia yesterday, which was kind of upsetting. Syracuse kind of been up and down. So, yeah, I've been watching some hoops. They looking good out there. It's kind of the same thing that's happening in the NBA. They have a lot of pauses because of COVID tracing and things like that. But I think they're kind of doing the same thing. They're just trying to get as many games in as possible and then kind of get to that March Madness where they can kind of create that bubble.
Yeah, I know on the wrestling side of things, it's definitely been a problem for them. A lot of postponements and even cancellations. I know Mark Branch, who's the head coach of Wyoming, is actually on Mark Bader, a Flow Wrestling show, kind of talking about how things are going to go. Basketball, you've got the selection process, who gets in the big dance. Wrestling, they have a process between all the conferences, how many allocations go to each conference, and when you place, after if you qualify during your placement, who gets selected to go in. And with everything going on right now, they don't really know how they're going to go about that. So this is just from a whole college athletic standpoint, this is an interesting time to watch.
I am, but we can't get out of here without talking about this Conor McGregor fight. I know you watched it. I seen all the memes happening. What's up? What happened to Conor McGregor out there?
I actually, on a personal note, picked Dustin Poirier to beat Conor McGregor in this fight. Conor McGregor, he's had his layoff, but also he's living a different lifestyle right now. Like, he's a guy that I look and say, is he, completely on board with the lifestyle of, an MMA fighter? So I mean, that was definitely something that I took into account coming in along with the layoff. He's kind of lost in similar fashion too. You talk about his gas tank and things like that. And the reason he lost, he got hit with a big shot, but it wasn't a shot so big that normally it would knock him down. Dustin Poirier was going at his legs, the entire fight. Like, even the commentators of the fight were mentioning Conor's leg throughout it as well. And that's really what was the big reason why he went down. He didn't have his legs under him.
Yeah, definitely. I can agree with you on the point about him maybe not living that fighter lifestyle no more. Especially after the fight with Floyd Mayweather, he's kind of been blowing up, and he was kind of blowing up before that too. So yeah, I kind of agree with everything you were saying. It was just I know you've seen all the memes after about him laying on the floor and things like that. I just thought we couldn't talk about that before we got out of here.
Yeah, for sure, man. He's got to rack up a win here. He's on a losing streak right now. They were hoping he wins this fight, they can try to get Khabib out of retirement, set up another fight there. Spoiler alert: he would have lost to Khabib again. But I mean, he's got to do. He doesn't deserve any title shots. He hasn't earned any title shots anytime soon. So if he wants to run it back with Poirier again, they can do that. Maybe get him another fight, but he's got to rack up a win here sooner. We're going to be having a different conversation about Conor McGregor.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of maybe a little unfortunate to see because you thought he was kind of up there at one point. So you think that maybe taking that fight with Floyd Mayweather and all that hype around it kind of maybe messed his career up a little bit?
No. I don't want to say because he was already on the track of how he's been acting before he took that fight and got all that money. So I think it was inevitable regardless. He says He says he's retiring because he feels disrespected and that he can't get a belt or anything like that. Give me a reason to give you a belt or give you a chance at getting a belt. You've done a great job marketing the UFC and marketing yourself. Kudos to you. You changed the game in that fact. But you still have to go out there and perform. Before Conor McGregor, this was a performance-based thing. He's changed the game a little bit in that sense where you don't have to be ranked second to get a title shot. If your marketability is up there, you can get that title shot. But it's kind of got back a little bit to, we got to be fair here. If this guy's ahead of you in the pecking order, he's going to get the title shot. So,
yeah, definitely. But yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Thanks everyone that was here. Thank you to everyone that left. Just good to be back.
Good to be back, man. Hopefully, no more hiatuses for the future here soon. We got new technology. The live stream was looking great. We got articles coming too between me and Kayson both. Might have some more content coming for you guys as well, some different variations too. So thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.